Pretty good total.
I mean,
No, I squatted.
What'd you think when you walked away from that? Like,
dude, I was fired up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was fired up. The only thing is I got folded in half on the squat at like 680. And like that's what stays with me.
Yeah.
Like this last meet we did in October, I missed 804 on a squat, and like as cool as that meet was and as happy as I'm having that total, it's like all I think about, the only video I watch is that fucking squat and just getting.
You are listening to the strongest podcast on the internet, the Gym Life Podcast with Mighty Joe and the world's most average man, Robbie Millar. It's time to flex and be entertained. The Gym Life Podcast starts right now.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gym Life Podcast. We got a special athlete interview here today, and kind of perfect timing, really. Our guest in the house today is McHugh, Super Bowl champion for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2008, and more recently, one of the top 35, 40 heavyweights in powerlifting and wrapped, I guess you'd call it raw with wraps. Yeah. So
classic
kind
raw.
of a double dinger for us here today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Sean. You know, it's funny, we talk football all the time, Robbie and I do, so having you on board right before the Super Bowl, we're going to go down that path a little bit with you too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
It certainly has evolved you into the athlete you are today, and I got a ton of questions to throw off you, and kind of where to start this interview is the hard part, but I think where I want to start it is, let's go back to what do we call it?
Chagrin Falls, Ohio.
Chagrin Falls, Ohio.
Greatest small town in America.
Was there like 10,000 people there?
God, I don't even know. It's I try to think of something around here people would know. I look at like a Plymouth, smaller Northville, but just like your quintessential small town, like everyone knows everyone. There's a river running through it, hence the Chagrin Falls. There's falls right through it, big tourist area, but just an awesome place to grow up.
An awesome place to play football.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't always though. So when I was in high school or got to be a freshman, we had hired a coach, Mark Marino, and he'd been there 2 years. And prior to that, they were on like a 40-game losing streak.
Oh, wow.
And then Coach Marino kind of brought in a new attitude and literally changed that program around. And so I think my freshman year, we won 2 games. And then after that, things started to roll. And ever since then, he just retired from coaching a year ago. But they were in the state finals a couple of times, always a playoff contender. I mean, really turned Chagrin Falls into a football school.
Yeah. And you grew up there, right? I mean, that was your school since grade school leading
second
through high
grade.
school.
Second grade is when we moved into the area. And I grew up there and, was with the same kids since second grade on.
So it's pretty easy to say that your athletic background then started with your dad.
You know what? It did, but what's funny is my dad never played football. My dad was a soccer player. My dad's a bigger guy now, but when he was in his 20s, he was 180 pounds, 6'3". So there was never any kind of football, growing up. My dad was, we would enjoy watching games, but I always wanted to play. And I think it was 5th grade when my parents finally said, okay, you can go ahead and try it out. And that was it. And I fell in love with the sport and went on, and things have kind of progressed and got better and better. And, fortunately having genetics. And I think as a sophomore in high school, I wrestled 215 and I probably had to cut 20 pounds beginning of the season. And then my junior year in high school, I was 255 pounds and I was 6'4", 6'5" at the time and could run. And it came natural. And I had really good coaches, and I had a dad who, forced me to be the best of everything I could, whatever I did it, and didn't put up with any shit. And I had a coach who was like that as well, and would push you, and had a great group of guys around me, and it was just a lot of fun.
Times are a little different these days, aren't they?
It's crazy. I coached high school a couple of years, and I'm just like, I think back, and some of these parents who want to reach out, and, my kid's not playing, or he did this. I'm thinking, man, when I was in high school, I was terrified of my coach calling my dad. Yeah. And letting him know that I was dogging it in practice or wasn't being a good teammate or whatever. That was what I was concerned about.
There was consequences.
There was never a thought of my dad calling my coach. It was the opposite.
When I played high school football, our coach set the kind of a similar thing. I started my freshman year. We had a coach. Team was trash. Sophomore year, we had a new coach come in, and he set the mentality very early on in practice. One day in practice, we're doing like punt drills, right? And every team has that call off punt, right? Get away from it. Well, our punt returner went and grabbed it anyways. He comes to the sideline afterward, and our coach grabbed him by the face mask and punched him in the helmet and said, "You ever do that again, and you'll never play football."
That coach would be fired today.
Yeah, he would be fired, but that was just football then. I was scared to death of my coach.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, your coach would get on you, I go home and tell my dad, and my dad would, well, good. Yeah. And then you call the coach and be, listen, if he does that
do it again.
Shit again, you have my permission,
what a
whatever you
shame
got
we
to do.
don't. Yeah, what a shame we've lost that era.
Yeah.
We
No,
really
there's
have.
my old man calls it the pussification of America. Where it's
We've
like,
talked about it, yeah.
Can't say it any better, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to say it, but that's probably the simplest way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's funny, Sean. When I was looking at your bio, you hold the record for your high school for a running back. Mm-hmm. So you were a 6'5" running back.
Yeah, and I ran a 40 in the 4.7s, and I was the biggest kid on our team. I was the biggest kid on the field most of the
To
time.
tackle you, that would be frightening to see you come through the line.
Well, I had a badass offensive line, but they probably averaged 175, 180 pounds across the board. But we were just nasty. I mean, we'd line up in a stacked I formation, kind of like a wing T type version now, or whatever they're running. And we would just run belly right, belly left, and carry the ball 30, 40 times.
Wear him down.
Yeah.
Wear him down.
And then we'd hit him with a little play action and hit my buddy over the middle, and no one would be around him. And
Walk right into the end zone. Yeah,
that's all it was.
I think what did I see? Your single season record for the high school is about 2,300 yards, I think.
Yeah, so I think for counting, I think it was like 2,260-ish, around there. Yeah. And in Ohio, we play a 10-game season. In Michigan, it's a 9-game season for some reason. But Ohio's 10 games, and then that includes a playoff game. So I was an 11-game season.
Yeah, that's 200 yards a game any way you cut it.
I tackled a guy your size once. I still have
How'd
a
that
scar.
feel?
I have a scar on the side of my nose from it. My helmet, which was an air helmet, moved so far down my face it cut my whole nose down, like it shaved it off. I was playing inside linebacker at 130 pounds because I love to hit people. I didn't belong there, but
well, there's only so much you can do with physics at some point. I mean, because you always have those guys that try hard guys, and it's like, okay, well, it's great, but eventually,
I got ran over by a 200-pound fullback, and
there ain't so much you can do.
There was nothing.
So it's interesting that you come out of I'm just picturing this high school experience you had, which probably you wouldn't trade it in for the world, right?
Nope.
I mean, just perfect.
I still say my best days of playing football was when I was in high school.
Unadulterated, fun.
It was just
doing
fun.
it just
Fun,
the community rallied around you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just like you watch on Friday Night Lights or something.
Yeah,
maybe not that extreme, but
but it was. I mean, our town would shut down on Friday nights, and again, it was a small town, but I mean, it'd be standing room only.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Our football field used to be an old horse track, so we had a really cool, like, concrete covered stands.
Nice.
The locker room was underneath it, and you'd have, I don't know, 6,000 to 7,000 people, which for a small town,
that's huge.
I had 130 kids in my senior class, and it was a place to be on Friday night. It didn't matter who you were, and I mean, it was just a blast.
Just real team environment, right? Like no contracts, no scholarships, no draft picks, none of that stuff.
No transfer portal.
None of that. There was none of that school of choice stuff back then.
No,
Really. You guys
played with the dudes that were in your area.
That was it.
Yeah. And, it was cool. And at least, the one thing I noticed different in Michigan is, and again, I have a small sample size of where I live, but these high schools are massive. I look at South Lyon, and they have two high schools, and, one's approaching 1,000+ kids, one's over 1,000+. You look at Plymouth Canton schools, where when I grew up in Ohio, we would have a different high school 5 miles down the road. And then there'd be another high school 5 miles down the road. Yeah. So you'd run into these kids from time to time, and then you'd be at the bowling alley, and the other kids are there, and you start chirping, and it was before social media, so we had to do our chirping in person,
right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Find out really who is tough.
I heard you were talking shit about me.
Graffiti their school a little bit on Saturday night.
I remember. I mean, that's what they would do. They would come in on Thursday night. I remember we had a school, West Geauga. We had a great rivalry with them, and we come into school one Friday morning, and they had put all these posters up all outside of the school. I mean, just like the good old.
That's what we did
stuff.
too. Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, that's a great upbringing, and it's a great opportunity to be with these small towns when there's a lot of razzle dazzle going on, especially with a football team or any sport for that matter.
Right.
When you see this whole community rally around one team or a school or something, and I wish more kids had an opportunity to do that. I too came from a very small school. I'll save my accolades for later. I still think I should have a statue of myself in the school. That Al Bundy stuff, 5 touchdowns in one game. Yeah. Nobody do
for Polk High.
Polk High, exactly. I held some records too, Sean. I'm just saying.
We can get into another episode.
Yeah, we'll do the next episode.
I didn't hold any records. So.
No, it's But I did have the same experience, which was fun. That small town, 110 kids graduating, everybody rallied around. Yeah, the homecoming parade was always fun and all that stuff leading up to that.
We had a bonfire, and again, I mean, you'd have a parade, and like our school was, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of a mile outside of downtown Chagrin Falls, and Main Street or Washington Street would run right up from downtown. So we would all meet downtown, and then they'd have the parade, and the streets would be lined and right up to the high school. And
the pageantry is awesome.
Yeah. Friday nights, I remember being a kid, and you could hear the band at my house. We lived another couple miles down there, and you'd hear that band going. I mean, it was just like,
beat the crap out of the rival team's car, or car you painted in the rival team colors with a sledgehammer.
Nobody got in trouble. The local cops are always on your side, you know, because they were a part of the community.
They knew who you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, Sean,
we used to get a police escort.
Yeah, time to go home, Sean. Yeah. Friday night or Saturday night, they'll
you want me to call your dad?
Yeah, right. No, sir, I'm on my way home.
You know, my daughter is a freshman, and she was part of the homecoming court this year for Kersley, which is just a few miles away from here. And we had to get the car, you know, get the fancy sports car. She sits in the back, you know, like every homecoming parade. But what I noticed was it was different probably than it was when we were younger, is that now they don't allow these kids to build these floats on farm tractors anymore.
Oh, really?
They actually, it's a liability now. Because remember, you used to go to the floats.
Yeah.
That was a great way
liability. We see how many kids we fit in the back of my pickup truck.
That's what they do now. They make them sit in the back of your pickup truck now. And they build these little floats that barely fit into a bed of a pickup, which is just crazy. I couldn't believe it. Because I asked them, so why are we doing this? Oh, that's the rules now. You know, they don't want anybody to get hurt. Or go to these like after school activities that could potentially cause, you know, I don't know.
You know what? Getting hurt,
the crucifixion of them.
Getting hurt's growing up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Sean, you have this great sort of storybook, fun high school career, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, Penn State comes a knocking.
Yep.
Interestingly, they came to you to be the fullback. Because you didn't start off as a tight end.
No, so I went to Penn State as a tight end, actually.
You did?
Yep. And my freshman year, I played tight end there. And then it was that summer going into my sophomore year, I got a call from Fran Garner, who was the running backs coach. They had come meet me in the office and said, "Hey, we're going to move you to fullback." And I mean, I was ecstatic. Like I couldn't.
That's iconic.
Yeah. And then I understood that ISO blocks on linebackers in Division I college football is a little bit different than it is on Friday night in Chagrin Falls, Ohio.
Yeah.
But it was nice to be back in that position, and we had a stud tailback. His name was Larry Johnson.
Oh yeah, I remember
second
Larry
in the Heisman.
Yep.
Went and had a great NFL career. So it was a great time to be a fullback at Penn State, and the kind of football Penn State played at the time under Paterno. Now everyone's running the spread and RPO and all this.
It's historic.
But it was, I mean, we used to line up in the I formation, and we're going to find out
that fullback position for that team when Paterno was coaching it might have been the single most important position on that team.
It was awesome. Loved it.
Yeah, it's so great that you were a part of that. And we were talking about this, Robbie and I, you know, leading into coming in here this evening before you got here. It's interesting how these transitions take place. You know, you're not a tight end in high school. You're just a big. Well, you could have played any position. Obviously,
you could have played defensive end,
outside linebacker if you wanted to, right? But they put you into a running back position. What'd you play on defense? I'm sure you went
middle linebacker.
Middle linebacker makes sense.
Yep.
And you go as a tight end to Penn State because they saw the tight end abilities that you could have brought there, and you transitioned to fullback. And then obviously you have a great career there, and it works out in your favor. And then you get drafted as a tight end.
Correct.
So you go from tight end to fullback, back to tight end again.
Yep.
But those two positions really correlate with one another.
They are. Yeah. And if you watch the NFL now, there's very few teams that carry a true fullback.
Yeah.
Even less now than it was when I was playing. You know, there isn't a Corey Schlesinger anymore.
Mike Allstott, you know.
Right. Like it's kind of extinct. And the only reason why I hung around for 6 years doing it is because I could back up tight end, and I could either be your fullback or I could back up the fullback.
Right.
So I could take two roster spots, you know, and add depth at both positions. So actually, you know, having the experience at tight end and then getting to play fullback really benefited me, you know, at least being able to hang around the league as maybe not quite as a talented player as some other guys.
Yeah.
Because, again, I had versatility and could add, you know, two positions to the roster with one person.
Yeah, and you hear that a lot. There's a lot of multifunctional guys out there that make a good career out of the NFL.
You almost have to be, you know, unless you're one of these top echelon guys, because they're always looking for someone to replace you. I mean, there's someone playing on Saturdays who's better than you, and they'll find them and they'll get them in there. So the more you can do, and you used to use that cheesy expression, the more you can do, you know, the more opportunity you have to be on the field, the harder it is to get rid of.
But I mean, that also goes for even just like there's career practice 100%. Squad guys that played 10 years on the practice squad because they're good at what they do, right? Like different backup quarterbacks, a lot of people don't know, but backup quarterbacks are tasked with mimicking the team they're playing, right? And that's a talent. That's a skill that you just that you develop, and people are good at doing that. So there's long-time backup quarterbacks that have never played, a handful of snaps during injuries and stuff. So there's a career to be made never playing a true roster spot, right?
Well, a lot of times they almost become like coaches. And so when I was in Green Bay my rookie year, Brett Favre was still there, and his backup was Doug Peterson. And, you know, Brett Favre, I forget what the record was, 220 games without ever missing a start. Right. So, like, Doug Peterson never played, was a hell of a quarterback, but he became so smart with the game. When he got done playing, he goes and coaches and then goes to Philadelphia, becomes a head coach in Philadelphia for a while. I mean, like, they just understand the game so much. Same with the local guy, Charlie Batch from Eastern Michigan.
I love Charlie Batch.
Yeah, he was backing up Ben, and this dude was so cerebral and, like, would understand the game and was just like having another coach out there. But then when you get him onto a practice squad giving scout team reps, I shouldn't say on the practice squad, giving scout team reps, they're so good at what they do. It's incredible to see. I mean, you see these guys, you're like, how are you not playing somewhere else? But again, that's how talented that
league is. It really is, because when you look at the league in general, you're talking, I don't know how many teams we got now, 36? 32. So you got 32 legitimate quarterbacks or position players. And then you have everybody else. And there's still all this plethora of talent, like you just said, that may never even reach the field.
And their entire job is to be cerebral.
But there's a formula there, right?
That's what they do.
And those people like Charlie Batch and Doug Peterson, they make it to that next level of coaching because of, like you said, it's by design.
Correct.
Drew Stanton. Drew Stanton's going to end up probably coaching if he's not.
Well, you know, a lot of these guys go on and they become great commentators because at that quarterback position, I mean, they truly have to understand all of offense and all of defense. You know, I mean, in my position, I understood blocking schemes. I can understand defenses and coverages, but putting it all together, no one can do it like a quarterback.
Did you ever have a conversation with any of your coaches about the defensive side of the ball? Did that ever happen?
Like moving over to play defense? No. So when I was being recruited, Notre Dame was the only school that wanted me to come in and play defense. But then when I got to the NFL, I made my name playing defensive scout team. So when I was there, I think they had 6 practice squad players. They've expanded it now, which is a great thing for the league. But I think we only had allowed 6 practice squad players. So, you know, they would go play fullback or tight end on offense, and then I'd turn around and I'd go play whatever they needed me on defense. And then playing in Green Bay and then Detroit, we played against the Bears twice a year. So they got Brian Urlacher.
You got to be Urlacher.
I got to be Brian Urlacher, and I took so much pride in it. I mean, I loved it. Like, I mean, offensive guys didn't like me, defensive guys didn't like me because, like, there was no, like, hey, like, give a wink, take it easy on this play. It was like, like, I'm fighting for my job. I'm fighting to be here tomorrow. You know, and then eventually the players would learn to respect it and then see they got them better. But again, like, I made my name doing defensive scout team, being Brian Urlacher, you know, like,
I asked that question because when I first met you, and it was to no surprise when you play for the NFL. And let me back up. When I see guys that are the caliber that you are, and athletically big, and you have this stature about you, you know, in a lot of the everyday gym bros and, you know, television quarterbacks, and they always go, I can play in the NFL. Just if they would have gave me a chance. But what I realized,
that knee surgery when you were 12 years old, set you back.
Never came back from that.
But what was the most amazing thing that I understood on a flag football game once a long time ago when I was in the military? There was a guy on my team, or a guy on the opposite team, who was he was a pro guy, but he ended up joining the military. I guess he came out of officer ranks or whatever. Okay. So he was played pro for a bit and had to do his time in the military. And he was coming through the line. And it was kind of one of those tackle flag football type deals, you know. And I was that defensive guy in high school, and I'm fresh out of high school. I'm in the military going, I'm ready to take this motherfucker on. He comes through the line, man, and he hit me, and I swear I had snot bubbles coming out of my nose laying on the ground. And I realized at that point that when we're talking about that caliber of a player, even a guy like that maybe had a 1 or 2 year stint in the pros and moved on, these are the real deal, these athletes are. Did you feel like that too when you got to that level, even outside of college, that when you first were taking those first hits with these pro guys, that it was a whole different ball game?
So there's no, I mean, you get to college, you got 105 players on a team. I forget what they have scholarship now. It was 85 back in the day. So you have a big sample size. Not everyone probably should have been a D1 recruit, but you had a great high school career. I don't know, but like, everyone who gets to the NFL, I don't care if you're a practice squad, I don't care if it's a tryout, like there's something about you that is different than everybody else. And that's the toughness is the one thing I noticed across the board. Like, there was no one ever where you're like, oh, well, I got him this time. You be just doing drills, one-on-one linebacker, fullback, and like, there is no, okay, well, if I'm third in line, I get to go against him. Right. All those motherfuckers are getting
There's no gimme on that line.
Like, everyone's bringing everything they have.
The one thing
I've heard that.
I never played in the NFL, obviously, but I've met a lot of people, actually, surprisingly, that played in the NFL. And the one thing that they kind of told me was, because I wanted to be in, obviously. Every kid did, right? We all wanted to play in the NFL.
Sure. Yeah.
The one thing that stuck in my mind is they said, listen, take the best player in your city, and they don't even make the practice
100%.
squad.
Yeah,
in the NFL.
That's a great analogy.
Like, who you think is the greatest person you've ever seen, and they don't touch the field in the NFL.
Yeah, because it really is a small,
tiny
1% of 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, being able to have that experience certainly has molded you to do great things now.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Which we'll move on, right? Because we are the gym life.
Yeah, this is where it's all leading to this part.
Yeah. So you get out, you have your fun in playing in the NFL, and obviously that whole sort of formula sort of created this. It manifested inside you what it meant to train and to to put effort into programming. You understood that, where a lot of guys don't know what programming is all about. You kind of already were kind of spoon-fed that. You knew exactly what it meant.
Well, there's something to learn what your body's capable of, even when your mind's messing with you, telling you can't, whatever. And the one thing, I had a great strength coach. And he used to always say, shut your mind off. And so everyone talks mental toughness. And to me, it's the opposite. Like, I have the ability to go black. Like, I can just flip it. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I mean, in the meet, all I hear is Ben. Like, literally, that's all I can hear is Ben. Like, I don't hear commands. And it's this ability just to shut everything off and push your body to the furthest limit it can go until you can't go any further. And again, I haven't reached that point yet. I'm still trying to find it. Hopefully I find it at some point. But that's what I love about this powerlifting thing is, like, I can use that. And I mean, granted, genetically I've been gifted and I can't take anything away from that. I mean, there's a reason why I got to play in the NFL. But when you combine it with being able to have that mindset, I think it's what's allowed me to this point. I got a lot to accomplish still. I mean, if you ask me, I'm still a rookie in the sport of powerlifting. Turned 40 years old this year. Yeah. And like, I still look at, man, my best years are 3, 4, 5 years ahead of me before we even hit stride. Mm-hmm. But again, like you said, like being able to kind of like understand the way to train and how to train. And, and I think there's even a side of the self-regulation of knowing when to pull back. Like, I know my body pretty well now from the years of whether it's football or weightlifting or any kind of training, when to pull back at times, but definitely kind of understanding the programming, what it takes,
and the patience behind it.
Right. And that it is. Yeah. I mean, I look at, and I think that's where people fall out of the sport of powerlifting. Everybody wants it now. But to me, I mean, this is a lifelong commitment for me. I mean, I'll do it till the wheels fall off in whatever capacity that may be. But the patience is the key. Yeah. You know what I mean? And understand. I mean, I look at, like, I did in the NFL. I mean, I played 6 years. I was cut 9 times in those 6 years. Kept coming back. But it was my 4th season was the first year I made an active roster out of training camp. Yeah. So we're talking going through 3 training camps, at the end of every training camp saying, I'm not good enough. Would get back on a practice squad, work myself onto the active roster for a couple of games, whether it was injuries or just, added depth. But understanding it's a long-term game. Mm-hmm. And knowing that going into it makes all the training not easier, but it makes you understand. Every day doesn't always become a PR.
There's perseverance involved.
Right.
I mean,
So I want to ask, coming out of football, what brought you to powerlifting? How did you find powerlifting? Like, was that just something that you, from training out with those guys in the gym?
And let me piggyback that question with, I piggyback it with this sort of, and maybe you can answer both at the same time. Being a competitive guy and being a part of, at that point, half of your life was about competition.
Yeah.
I mean, transitioning to like another sport or like powerlifting, like Robbie said, was there always something you were chasing in the back of your mind when you came out of football that you knew you needed to get, like there was that addictive nature to it?
You needed to compete.
Yeah, so no, they're both great questions, and we'll tie them together because there's definitely something once I stopped playing football that I was missing. And I didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea. And there was a period of my life, where I quit playing football and, you're trying to find your new identity. And I started drinking, and then it was just like, just wasn't happy. It was a mess. You
didn't know who you were anymore.
Yeah. Everyone, oh, you're the football guy. You're the football guy. You're
You
the
hear that a
football
lot.
guy.
I mean, that's not uncommon. I mean, you hear that a lot about professional athletes.
Right. Which, and again, like I'm proud of my football career, and I put a lot of work and energy into it. And I had a lot of awesome people around me that supported me. But at some point in your life, you got to kind of flip that identity, and that was the hardest part. And then, so my wife started training for bikini, and she met a trainer, actually bodybuilding guy, John Simmons. And then through John Simmons, met another coach who's an IFBB pro. She trained out of a lifetime. So she started training my wife. And then after, like I said before we got on air, it was like 8 or 9 years I didn't done anything. Like literally nothing. I was 285 pounds of just slop, just like, and just eventually not happy. And I said to my wife, I was like, man, I should just, get back into training or exercising, doing so. She's like, why don't you go see Natalie? She'll get you started. So I started training with her and started to learn about nutrition again and what I was eating. And then I would, train with her just more for aesthetics and getting back into general shape. But she had me deadlift one day. And we started deadlifting, and like we got 3 plates, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," and like, "Oh, what if I could do 4 plates one day? That would be amazing."
Now it starts.
Right. Yeah. So then we pulled 4 plates, and then it was my 37th birthday, maybe my 36th birthday, and I'm like, my goal is to deadlift 500 pounds. I'm like, that would be the pinnacle of my.
That's it.
Yeah. And so we end up pulling a shitty half sumo, half conventional 500 pounds, and I think I've made it. And then, so then Natalie's like, hey, G, are you familiar with RPG? And I'm like, no, got no idea. And like, well, they're powerlifting. I have no idea what powerlifting is. And she's like, they have an event in December called Raise the Bar, which is just a deadlift only meet. Like, you should go do it just for fun. So I was like, okay, I'll try it and sign up for Raise the Bar. And I think at that time I was still training with Natalie, and I pulled like 630. And you would have thought I won a Super Bowl then. I thought I was the baddest guy.
Oh, I bet.
Like
Good for you. That's awesome.
But I ran into Ben there. And when we had our gym open years and years ago, again, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years had passed since then. Ben actually trained with us for a while. I was training athletes. So I knew him then. Didn't stay in touch or anything. And then I run into Ben at this meet, and I'm like, hey, remember me? And, we kind of had so after I saw what Ben was doing and Ben's athletes were doing, I was like, if I really want to get better at deadlifting, I need a true powerlifting coach. So I reached out to Ben, and just through like Instagram, I was like, hey man, like I'd love to learn more about powerlifting and deadlifting, and would you program deadlift for me? And he's like, you should do a full power meet. And I'm like, no way.
This is like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. I mean, right about 2 years. And I was like, I haven't squatted in 10 years. I was never a big bench presser.
You're like, I'm almost 40. My knees hurt. Played football.
And I'm like, I won't have a total. Be embarrassing. And Ben's like, who gives a shit what your total is? Like, just get started in it. And so he started training me on the deadlifting. And then I did the APF deadlift only state meet, a few months after. And I think we went from like 630 to pull like 640 or something. And I thought again, I mean, like, I've made it, Right. So finally I told Ben, like, all right, let's try a full power meet. Ben was like, right on. And that's a wrap. Like, just training with him and being around those guys. And I trained at home for a lot. I go in on Saturdays. And now I try to get in there as much as I can. Even right now, with the bicep recovery, I'm there 3 days a week with those guys. But it's just like something I literally fell in love with. And then, coincidentally, I get paired with, in my opinion, probably one of the best coaches.
Mm-hmm. We agree.
Anywhere.
Yeah, we agree.
What I mean?
We agree.
Like,
well, one of the most
knows his
intense
shit.
guys I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Either you run away from Ben or you run to Ben.
Well, that's why I love him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need you to pat me on the back and tell me I'm amazing. Like, I need you to tell me what I'm not doing right. Like, I want to be good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really even want to be good. I want to be great. Like,
so at that moment, then, when you started competing, did a light bulb go off and go, this is what's been missing? The 6 to 8 years, there's that competition, that drive, that goal.
Absolutely.
For sure. It makes sense. And that's,
now I obsess about it.
Yeah, what a great place to be, though. Like I said, Ben's, the dude, I won't tell you, the dude's a teddy bear, but he looks like a
Dark Lord of Iron.
Yeah, exactly.
Lord
Like
of
he'll
Iron.
eat your
That's what he
soul.
looks like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Giant teddy bear. Love the guy.
Yeah.
No, but like again, there's something about him and whatever it is inside your head that makes you really successful at these things. But like I watch him train, I watch him coach other guys, I watch how he coaches me, I read his notes in my programming, and it's like, man, like this fucking guy gets it. He just gets it. Like he knows how to push me. He knows, when he needs to pull back a little bit. But I trust the guy with every facet of my training. Like, I don't know, Ben could say, I need you to lift this table up 8 times. It'll make you stronger. I'll lift the table up 8 times.
Right.
Like,
No question.
Yeah. And I think that's the key. I think it's one thing I learned playing football is like how to be coached. You can't, if you're going to have a coach, you got to let him coach you. And I think some guys, I can do it this way, or I saw this on Instagram, or, I saw Larry Wheels did this and I'm going to train. I'm like, no, like find someone who's a badass at what they do.
Yeah.
And then do what they do.
Yeah.
And that's how I got better at football. I would find players who were better than me and try to, do what they were doing.
I had a coach that told me that I was a collegiate golfer, and I had a coach that told me that early on when I started golfing too. He was like, if you want to be the best in the world, watch the best in the world.
Right. 100%.
It's the easiest way to do it.
It is.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, sadly, we live in an era now where, guys will have an opportunity to work with great coaches. And then you find yourself when you're not in training looking at these internet shit and social media, and then you start second guessing that coach because other people want to get in your ear and start chirping. Obviously that's not the case with you, but I see that with a lot of potentially great lifting athletes where they're just jumping ship too much to try to find.
Get ruined.
Yeah,
Well,
they get
and
ruined.
I think that becomes the mental part, right?
Right.
Where it's like bench training is not easy. Like
No.
it's not, and you can find something that's probably easier. You can find someone who can tell you, well, it's cool if you skip this day, or you don't got to do your accessories. It's not that, like Ben's going to tell you the truth. And even in my short 2 years, I've seen guys come and gone, like you said, who I'm like, man, this dude's going to be a monster.
Right. And
then you go into the gym a month later, like, where are they?
Yeah.
Oh, they're training here. They went with this guy, and it's like, okay. Well, we'll see you on the platform, and we're going to bury you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
that's how you sort it all out at that point. Was that a right move or a wrong move?
Yeah.
We'll find out. I'll see you at the
You
platform.
know what's funny is I went down there before Michigan States and trained with Ben for a little while before States, and now I'm doing strongman, so I didn't end up going back. But the first day down there, I was like, well, I'm friends with Ben. It's going to go good. He gives me my program, kicks my ass, right? I skip an exercise or two in there because it already took me too long. I'm a social guy. I go talk to some people.
Yeah.
I come back the next day, and he literally pulls me over. He goes, hey, you didn't do your accessories yesterday. That was the only fucking thing he said to me.
The whole time.
That's the only thing he said to me the whole day. I thought he was busy squatting because he was doing his workout. He pulled me over and goes, hey, you forgot to do hamstring curls yesterday. And I was like, motherfucker. And I knew exactly how it was going to be the rest of the time. Motherfucker, I didn't miss a single thing. I was in the middle of the gym going, hey, Ben!
Well, I mean, I've only been recovering from this bicep, so I've only been doing a lot of lower lately. And I pulled up my program the other day, and it's like, your depth is shit. Lower the weight and fucking get it right.
I saw that on Instagram.
And I'm like,
he'll call you right out.
I'm like, okay, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Watch my ass hit the ground.
He doesn't pull any punches. He can't have. He can't be a softie.
But that's what I love it. Like I said, like I want to be great. If you're gonna put the time into it, if you're gonna spend, and put the wear and tear on your body, and I mean, I drive to RPG. We get there around 5:30, 5:45, and I live in South Lyon. I leave my house at 4:45, and it's like if you're gonna put that commitment to it, like you owe it to yourself, and I think you owe it to your coach because I know he puts a ton of time into it to give it everything you have. And if you're gonna go halfway, I think those are the guys that they either fizzle out, and the sport's not for everybody. Let's be honest. There's a reason why there's only so many people that do it because it's tough, and that's what I love about it.
For sure.
So when you started, you went to that first meet, or I guess you did your first full power meet.
Yeah.
What was your total there?
1784.
Yeah, not bad.
It's a pretty good total.
I mean,
no, I squatted.
What did you think when you walked away from that? Like,
dude, I was fired up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was fired up. The only thing is I got folded in half on the squat at like 680, and like that's what stays with me.
Yeah.
Like and like this last meet we did in October, I missed 804 on a squat, and like as cool as that meet was, and as happy as I'm having that total, it's like all I think about. The only video I watch is that fucking squat and just getting buried, and like that's what like makes me want to come back and do it again and keep doing it again. And then seeing how much potential in just a short time of the training, of like where we can be and where we can get to it. And, there's still so many little things that I can dial in and be better at. other than just the 3 main lifts.
Right,
For
to
sure, yeah.
improve on.
And we're going to talk about that meet because there's pretty cool stuff happened at that meet, but where
That was a fun day.
total. That was leading up to it was fun too.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Your first
1784.
full power meet. You're talking about the first full power
No, I
meet.
was talking about the one he just did.
Oh, the last
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty special too, right? I mean, all of a sudden you find yourself kind of in the middle of the conversation because you went from a 17 and some change total to now what we say was a 2037.
No. 2000. It's actually when you add the decimals for the kilograms, it's 2006.
2006.
officially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is well, I mean, look at the leap there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking what, 6 months?
So it went from, it was winter warfare, so January to October
Okay, so
was
10
10
months.
months.
And,
Yeah,
and not just that, you hurt yourself in training for that.
Yep. So we had a torn bicep.
prior to the meet.
Yep, like 10 days.
Yeah.
It was,
It was your last heavy pull.
deadlift.
I was there that day.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was standing
Yeah.
right next to the platform. I was squatting in the
geez.
monolift
Yeah.
when it happened.
Had you had any injuries prior to that?
Powerlifting?
Yeah, or just that re-injury?
Nothing to the
Okay.
arms. No.
Yeah.
I mean, playing football, I've had both knees operated on. I've had a broken leg. I've had broken fingers, all that good stuff. But never had any kind of muscle tears,
something totally
anything.
new. And this is, you were pulling and
it wasn't even, I mean, it was heavy, but it wasn't your heaviest pull.
No,
It was,
I mean, I think at that time, I think it was my last heavy pull, and it might have been like 690, which, at that point in my training was, I mean, we were going to open probably in the low, towards mid sevens for
so
that meet.
you're
So,
80%.
yeah, it wasn't
there.
anything that should have, but I mean, like you saw it, like it was literally as soon as the weight left the ground, it was, and you see the bicep.
It's crazy when you see that
jump
happen.
back
It's
up
like a
in the arm.
one-off, like
Yeah.
what on that day with that light lift, and I'm sure it went through your mind, what the fuck did I do?
10 days
Yeah.
before comp.
Yeah, it's like, why
Well,
now?
and I pull mixed grip, and I think one of the negatives especially with deadlift for me is, and one thing I've been working on and trying to get better at is like not jerking off the ground, but being an explosive athlete.
Yeah.
Like I'm so used to everything starting and then trying
So
to
it's a
accelerate as
grip
fast
and
as
rip
you
kind of
can.
mentality.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's how I pulled, and
Yeah.
it was a matter of time.
Yeah,
and so forced us now we're going to transition to hook grip.
Which I understood you did hook
You
grip.
did that in the meet,
Yeah.
right?
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because if anybody knows about hook grip out there,
So I want to talk about something real
Sure.
quick.
Yeah,
That day, because I was there. That day, he hops his bicep and he goes over and talks to Ben, and Ben goes, "This doesn't change a fucking thing.
yeah,
This doesn't
Literally.
change a
you
fucking
don't need
thing."
your bicep to do this.
He's like, "You don't need your bicep anyways." And of course, he's concerned about his health, and he's like, "Well, maybe I'm going to talk to my doctor." And he did go talk to his doctor and got some advice, but the mentality of Ben and you was like, "Listen, we're gonna adjust some stuff. We're gonna play with some numbers to get you there, but when we got to pull that fucking number, you're gonna pull that fucking number. That's just how it is." And Sean goes, "Okay."
Well, and I think that's the stuff that people don't see, right? Like you see Ben, you see his athletes, you see the Instagram, but you don't see the behind the scenes stuff, and you don't see the freaking midnight, text messages.
The
of
dude never stops
encouragement.
working.
And no, I mean, literally, I mean, I swear to God, I don't want to put too much of his business out there, but he's sending me videos that he's taking of how to hook grip, and like literally, I mean, it's 10:30 at night, and I'm in my garage. Trying to like look at my dad, like watching his video, going back, but beyond that, I mean, just there's something, and it's hard to even explain or to put into words where, the encouragement, the messages I got, like at that point, like, it was probably a week out. I'd, got an MRI, went and saw the surgeon. He's like, "We're going to have to operate."
Yeah.
So all I asked him was like, if I do lift, can I make it worse? And all the doctor said is, "We're going to have to operate." So
Either way.
Basically,
at
this point, do what you want.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to go lift because I'm a doctor.
So you get to this meet and you're in hook grip, of course. What did you end up pulling?
We pulled 672 hook grip.
Yep.
That was my first lift, and it before that, I mean, I said like I had hook grip like 4 times. And so like in training, I don't think we ever worked past like 585 with the hook grip. So we pull 670 something to get a total. Just wanted to, get on the board. But I knew like I couldn't pull 673. I can pull 672. 1 more pound, that bar is coming out because I didn't, and I could feel it rolling out of my hands. Yeah. So fortunately, I was able to hang on long enough to get the down call. So I went and told we were going to jump right there and say, "Hey, maybe we only have 1 pull." So I go over to Ben because Ben calls my numbers. I don't even know what my numbers are. I just, whatever, like I trust Ben. He knows better than I do. But after that went over, I go, let's pull 750 mixed grip and just like let one rip. And so we did. And that second pull was the worst pull pain-wise of the knee. It's like you feel whatever was still hanging on or maybe hanging on, you just feel pop, 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 and it's just excruciating. But like after that, it was also like, well, and that was a PR for me. I think
so that was a good lift.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and but before that, I think my PR was like 748 maybe. I think it was actually like 752 we pulled or right around there. So that was a PR. And then Ben already had the number in his head of what we needed to break 2,000. And I didn't know what the number was. I didn't even, they had the screen up there. I didn't even look at it and just stood there and bars loaded and let's go let it rip.
Work.
How special is that?
Yeah, it was cool, man. I got to watch the recap and some of the videos.
Your second, full power meet.
He pulled 2,000.
And you're over $2,000,
You're
man.
in the top 30 in the world.
Why do these assholes got to be good at more than one thing in their life? Honest to God.
Yeah, it wasn't enough to have fucking pro football. He's going to come and take
fucking
my
great
powerlifting from me. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, we're just getting started. 2,000. I mean, it's just like another run on the ladder. Like, we got a lot more to accomplish.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because you're a tall guy, man. At 6'5", some people consider that in the powerlifting community a bit of a handicap. But obviously you don't look at it like that. You're an athlete and you're 6'5", and you've been
2,000 pounds is 2,000 pounds. I don't care how tall you are. I
Matter.
don't care how long your arms are. I don't care how big.
Well, we
your
can
chest
argue
is.
that it's at least we
in
will.
the squat for sure.
I know Sean won't admit to it, but the squat and deadlift.
There's a reason the world records are all held by 5'6" people.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
For now.
Do you sumo or conventional?
Conventional.
Okay, good. That's so good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I used to make fun of the sumo guys until
I still do.
My last meet prep. Ben had me pulling opposite for the first part of it, and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, take me out of all my leverages. Like, I couldn't sumo to save. I think the most I pulled on sumo was 7 1/4, and that was like an RPE. Like,
and with your legs being as long as they are, it's almost like a hybrid sumo. It's not like you can even get wide.
You can't even get out to
because you try to get there now. The plates are there, and it's not for me. But just from having so much of it in my training, the last program, like I got a lot of respect for guys who sumo. And then there's the guys, and I get it. The guys where it's like all they do is lock their knees and the bars, sitting 2 inches off the ground. But at the end of the day, I look at it like I got the option to pull sumo, so. I choose not to, but
and I've always felt like the taller guys, especially the guys that know how to deadlift the prop, have to get it down, that understand the cues, have a bit more of a leverage point with that too when you can dial it in.
With conventional,
yes.
Well, there's a reason the world record's held by a guy that's 6'7".
Well, that's what I'm getting at. A lot of
the squat is held by a 5'6" guy, and the deadlift's held by a 6'7" guy.
Well, there's a lot of. I have long arms, and I think that helps me. And then the hook grip actually helps because I probably get another 3/4 to an inch, when I have the hook grip proper. So that'll be a big plus for me. But I've also just, for whatever reason, like I just always had a really strong lower back. If you look at my deadlift form, it's not pretty. There's some times where it almost looks like a stiff leg, RDL, but I just, like my lockout. And then again, I look back at my programming and doing those stupid quad band right below the knee rack pulls. I'm like, it's just like, and that's the other thing, I think what's so important about a good coach is like, he doesn't have the same programming for everybody.
It's not cookie cutter.
No, it's like, this is what you need. So we worked on pulling from a deficit to get stronger off the ground, and then we transitioned and start working the lockout. But there was a point we were pulling, I think I did a 7-rep max from a pin just below the knee with like 7 and some change. And so like, I know if I can get the bar to get to my mid shin, like I'll stand up and lock it out.
Right.
And then I see some guys who they get the bar to their knees like it's nothing, and then have trouble locking it out.
I'm the same way. If I get it off the ground, I'll lock it out.
Like, which is a head scratcher, right? To get it to your knees, you figure, he's got it, no problem.
And I see these guys not be able to lock it. I'm thinking, how can they not lock it out? Like when I miss a lift, that bar doesn't move off the ground. Like that's when I miss it. Yeah.
I'll tell you why your lower back's strong. It's all those ISO blocks.
Right. Yeah.
It's all getting bent backwards.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I learned from the training is the amount of core work involved in the training is insane, and just getting everything stronger. I mean, you can't have a weak point and be a competitive powerlifter.
And that's the biggest difference between quality programming and programming that's just sort of cookie cutter around the 3 basic movements. I mean, you said it, man. I mean, all the real work comes in outside of the big 3.
Oh yeah, everyone loves to have max day or a 3-rep max day, and you can post it online, and everyone can comment how strong you are. But no one likes to do the bullshit 200 reps of seated band curls and 200 tricep band extensions. Like, no one cares to see it, but those are the things that
hip flexibility protocols.
Yeah. Like going and seeing Coach Bros on Tuesday nights and trying to work on the mobility stuff and just all the little things, and still trying to work a full-time job and be a dad and a husband and all those good things. But like I said, I'm just feel so fortunate that I found RPG and Ben in the programming. And like I said, I mean, unless they kick me out, I'll be there for a long time to come.
Well, we were down there a few months back. We were doing some stuff there, getting some footage, and
that was right around. That was Labor Day, wasn't it?
Yeah,
in September.
It was.
Yeah, it was like the big squat party.
I think it was.
It was.
I think you tried 1,000 pounds, if I wasn't mistaken. You were pretty close, weren't you?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Well, it was something big.
It was 8.
Yeah, it was 8 something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it over 8? Okay.
Yeah, I squatted 750, and then I think we put 8 on the bar, and I stood up with it. Probably would have gotten red lighted for depth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you guys saw. I mean, it's like, how can you not want to be there?
How can you not want to do
train?
it? Yeah,
it's an intense environment for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just working in with guys, and I mean, I'm stripping plates off. These guys are those guys who are lifting equipped got 1,000 plus on the bar, and I mean, it's just an awesome place.
Oh,
and,
some of the women down there too, unbelievable.
Oh, insane.
It's the same way. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. It's the most intense place at 6 a.m. I've ever been to.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best.
What's upcoming then? What's the next meet for you?
It's a good question. I don't know. So the one of my lifts that lags for me is bench press. That's one thing we haven't been able to do. So I just got clearance from my doctor last week to start adding some light weights into it. So we'll start actually this week. Ben's added upper to my programming. So it'll all be high rep, lightweight stuff, and just kind of build a base back. In my head, I kind of target either, the meet they just had Winter Warfare next year, or the state meet next year. Because again, like when I go back out there, now that I have the 2,000 pound total under my belt, like we're going after 2,100. Is the next place I want to be, and kind of know where I need to be on my lifts. And I start thinking back in October, if we didn't have the injury, what could I have pulled? And the squat, I should have stood up with that squat, and I got a million excuses why. But
well, it sounds like you got a lot of motivation behind your preparation now, and that's going to put you in a good
spot. And that's it. And I see other guys, in our gym that are going to break that 2,004 pounds or 6 pounds, and I can't wait for them to break it.
Sure.
So there's something else to push, and I see other local guys, other 275ers that are putting up totals in the 2,050, 2,060. And so it's like, we're going to go put one up there, and that'll be the new number.
We've said it more than once on this show that we're really blessed in the area that we are with the amount of high quality, world class.
It's crazy.
Athletes. It's unbelievable.
It's the one thing that I've been exposed to as I've gotten into the sport, and you start following more people on Instagram, and you kind of I'm like, there's some legit lifters, world class lifters in my gym. Let alone you start traveling to some of the outer areas and some of the other powerlifting gyms. Yep. And I mean, there's some serious contenders out there, which is what's awesome. You know what I mean? Like it's no fun to be the best of an average group. Like, no, I want to beat the best.
No, we were just talking to Sam Mateo that we had on the other day, and he's going to go after some and break them, no doubt about it. But the idea of having, just to have that record, not have it broken, that's not the kind of champion anybody wants to be. No. I want some guy to break it so I can break it again. Yeah. And that's what we see a lot of. Yeah. I'm sure that's what you're going to run into.
No, I see these guys, and it's frustrating when you're not able to train the way you want to train and you don't have a meet on the books or anything. But I see these, and I think most people in the sport are probably like this, and everyone I've ran into, where it's like, I want you to go crush that total.
Sure, 100%.
I want you to smoke it.
Please.
Yeah, I need something for me to go after. Right. And then I hope when I beat it, I hope you go beat it again, and we keep playing this game until we make each other as best as 100%. We can possibly be.
Yeah, sure. Well, you're off to one hell of a rocket ship start to this. I mean,
well, but see, I had the newbie gains,
Yeah, the newbie gains. Shut up.
What was that? 1 month?
Newbie gains. I picked up a deadlift, and then I committed to full power, 1,700 pounds.
Well, it's funny, when I looked at the rankings, and I think you had posted them, and 37th world or something, which is cool.
At 275.
At 275.
Right. Yep.
But what I found interesting is you're an open competitor. You're not a sub-masters, but you could be.
Could be.
Yeah, but you just choose to stay open. No interest right now.
No.
Or ever?
No
Don't know.
No, I mean, until we get to that point, and again, if we want to look at some, masters type records,
Right.
to get your name in the books, something we might go after. But like, I look at as a power lifter, I'm 2 years into the sport.
Yeah.
And I haven't been doing this for 15, 20 years. I'm not some old beat up guy who just wants to get back on the platform because I just enjoy doing it. Like I'm here to be a serious contender, and I want to be a serious contender against the best.
And the only way to do that's
not saying. I mean, there's some monsters that lift in submasters. There's some monsters.
Oh,
in
for sure.
Masters,
They were all monsters before they got there. So,
but I don't want an asterisk by it. I want an open, competitive total that. I can put up against anyone out there, whether you're in your mid 20s or you're 45. I don't care. It's lift and weight. The weight weighs the same for everybody. So that's
I think that mentality is for a lot of guys across the board, right? This is where I want to be, and if it just so happens I come down in this masters category here down the road, and I see something that maybe we want to tackle, then great. If not, I'm going to compete with the guys that are arguably the best, and that's where I want to be. And you should be there because you're there,
Well, I think the submasters, the total, at least maybe in the APF right now, I think it's close to 22 if it's not.
Yeah. I think all of the really big numbers are 22.
It's not like you go from open to submasters, then submasters to masters, and there's these 100-pound drop-offs.
No, there's not.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are just insane. I see some of these squat numbers these guys are putting up, 900 pounds in reps, and it's just... then I watch some of these guys like the John Hacks, lifting in sleeves and the numbers he puts up at
Captain America, man. That dude is unbelievable.
I mean, it's just, But again, it makes me, I'm like, because I look at it, I'm like, well, why can't I do that?
Listen,
well, you can.
Why can't I?
Why can't
there's no doubt your potential. I mean, you're 2 years into it with torn bicep, and look where we're going to be here in a couple of years. We'll have a whole different conversation here. Pretty amazing stuff. How's the family support?
Oh, incredible! So
Is your wife still competing in bikini?
She
right
is.
Now?
Yep. So she just qualified for her first pro show.
Really?
Yep. Wow. So let me rephrase that. She qualified for her first national show, which would give her the opportunity to earn a pro card in bikini. So it's actually perfect because we understand. She understands the nutrition. Now, our goals are different.
Yep.
But the attention to training, and again, obviously, her nutrition and diet is a little more strict than mine. But the concept of it's the same.
It's the same, sure.
We figure out how to make it work with our kids, and my son's a fantastic athlete. My daughter's 12, an incredible dancer. So now, like, my daughter goes to the gym with my wife. My wife came up to RPG a couple weeks ago just to check it out. So everyone likes to train. Like, I get text messages from my son in his high school football. He's a freshman. He's like, Dad, like, just deadlifted, 315, and I hit 155 on the bench. I got, so it's like, and to me, it's a great kind of family thing to have, and it's all positive.
Why not? Yeah.
The one thing we're always concerned about is with my wife and my daughter, just because my wife has to be very critical of her look and everything, because that's what the sport is.
It's got to be lean,
and just making sure the understanding of, like, you're 12, like, this is it, and just making sure that we're having those conversations.
This is competition. This isn't life.
This isn't, because obviously with the pressure these, especially girls, have on them these days, with the Instagram models and everyone else who always looks like they're in peak shape, which we all know they're not always walking around like that.
No.
So, but it's been awesome.
I got that from a little research I did on you. I could see that there's a cohesiveness to your family unit that provides this opportunity not only for you but for your wife.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jack loves it because he gets to brag about his dad and being a power lifter, probably more so than a professional football player.
Well, it's current. You know what I mean?
It's current.
Yeah.
And you're strong,
like his buddies were. Jack was less than 2 years at the Super Bowl. He turned 2 years in March, so we played that game this time 13 years ago. Yeah. So, he was, just 1.5 years old running around.
Right.
And this is something, and now that he lifts weights for football and lacrosse, it kind of makes sense.
He understands
understand
it. Right. He's understanding the work it takes.
Okay, so like I just bench press, 135, my dad can do 4 whatever, and so I think there's that. It's a little bit more relevant and something you can quantitate.
It's fun to share that too. Like my son powerlifts too. He's got another competition this weekend, and it's just fun to share that stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't train with me. He trains with his powerlifting coach, but he'll still come over to the house. He just turned 18, so he does whatever he wants. But
of course,
he'll still come over to the house and be like, all right, he's like, so this is what I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Like he'll tell me his coach's programming. what should I do differently? We still work on some stuff. So I think he's trying to qualify for states this competition,
cool.
this meet. So it'll be pretty fun. But God, dude, he's 6'2", 6'2", 132 pounds. He's tiny.
Yeah.
But he loves it, dude.
A lot of growing ahead of him.
Well, that's what's great. So my son's the same way. He's tall. He's 6'2", at 14 years old. But he's probably 170 right now. Yeah. And when I was 14, I wrestled 189, and so my son's a little bit more athletic than I was.
Does he play football?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Plays defensive line and lacrosse. But he's definitely I always tell him, like, dude, like, you're a much better defensive player than I ever was. I mean, I got away with a lot because I was bigger and stronger than most people. But athletically, he's superior than I am. And then my 12-year-old daughter, I watch some of the stuff they do with dance and the acro parts of it and the athleticism and the commitment. And it's like, she's got the worst schedule out of all four of us.
Yeah, I saw a couple of her
that.
videos. Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah.
My daughter dances as well, and I saw your daughter. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. The time and the commitment to it, and I mean, she's all in with it. And again, it's just fun stuff to do as a family. And there's the days where we're like trying to figure out, like, I'll pass my wife pulling into our driveway and like wave,
like, hey, love you,
see you in 3
later.
days, like, always. But it's a lot of fun, and it'll be gone before we know it. So
100%. That's the truth right there. Yeah. Right when you turn around.
Well, you're invested in the work. You're invested in the fun of it. You're invested
100%.
Yeah, it all works out in the end.
Yep.
Did you know there's a show coming out on what is it on Netflix called Jack Reacher? You guys seen that one yet?
Oh yeah.
No, I've heard.
Yeah, you look just like Jack Reacher.
So you know what's funny?
Did somebody else tell you that?
Favorite author.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got so pissed off when I saw the first Jack Reacher movie, and they have Tom Cruise, who's like 5'3", 120
This guy's
pounds.
Sean McHugh.
Yeah, Jack Reacher's 6'5",
I saw the preview
255.
the other day. I said, that's Sean McHugh.
Perfect. Now you got his job as a stuntman.
He's about 275 pounds and 6'5". I said, this is Sean for sure.
No, that's funny because I'll read, like I call them trash novels. They read like a movie, and so like Lee Child's the author of Jack Reacher. So I got hooked on his series. You read the entire book in like 3 hours, you know what I mean? It's like I said, it's all just shooting and him beating people up and all that fun stuff. But yeah, then I saw the movie and I'm like, fucking Tom Cruise? It's like, really?
Yeah, I know.
Like, really?
I was
like now I'm that guy. Like, yeah, the book's way better, guys.
I had my 3-year-old son. I said, look at this preview. I'm making him watch it. I said, that's the way I want you to talk when you kick somebody's ass someday. When he says to this one part, he says, these 4 drunk kids, they're 19, 20 years old. They said, what are you going to do about it, old man? He says, well, I'm going to break all 3 of your wrists. He says, well, there's 4 of us. He says, one of you's got to drive to the hospital. I said, son, that's the way I want you to do it. Remember that. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's really good stuff. Yeah, so as a gym owner, you mentioned you went into, and kind of backtracking a little bit here, but you owned a gym for a bit, and it didn't quite work out the way you anticipated it.
Not even close.
And I think this is kind of a fun kind of a subtopic to what we're talking about, because a lot of people out there, guys and gals alike, are always got this vision of owning a gym someday and how great it would be.
If you work out, it'd be great to own a gym.
Yeah, right. And you found yourself not working out at all and just the stress of owning a gym.
Yeah, it was, it truly becomes your life. I have so much respect for Steve and Amanda with RPG and what they do, and what they've built there. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You guys have all seen in the culture.
The personnel,
there.
sure,
And,
yeah.
I mean, it's a great place. But to be tied to it and then try to figure out how you make it profitable. Like, we ended up being there, from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. And then, you always want to have some kind of control. So it's really hard to like let someone else take over it. And then you're at home finally, and now all me and my wife are doing is talking about the gym.
Right.
And it just became a drag. And to the point where like I didn't want to be there when I didn't have to be there. So it wasn't like I was going to get there early to do my training and then spend all day. So it really, probably pushed me away from training more than anything. And then once that, like, we were talking earlier, once that lease was up, we had it for 3 years, and I was like, I want out. My wife wanted out. And it's a learning experience. That's how I look at a chapter in life,
It's crazy to me because, coming from a very competitive life like we talked about that you led, and you find yourself owning a gym and thinking, well, I'm just going to jump right back into weightlifting and be competitive. You weren't. You almost lost yourself there for a bit.
Oh, 100%. It was I look at my entire life, call it 40 years soon to be, and I'm like, those 3 years were some of the toughest, crummiest, darkest years of my life. Football was still like, it hadn't really moved on to the next level. Was only a year or two out of playing football, so still trying to find your identity. And then again, trying to recreate what I had found when I was training to play football, thinking I could bring that, here. And realizing like people don't want to train the way we trained playing football. And trying to figure out like
right, because you thought you were going to bring in this.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to get all these athletes just like we had here, and everyone's going to they want to train hard and they want to push themselves and they want to. And it's like
here's the reality.
Mom and dad might want that for them, but they're not here.
The majority of people want to snap fitness.
Right,
it's a small group that want to play like RPG.
So well. Sure,
100%. I mean, we had some great people we trained there, some teams we trained in, met some phenomenal people, and both my wife and I, truly enjoyed the time working with, the athletes. But then there's all this other time, when kids aren't in school. How do you fill that time during the day, and finding different ways, to make it work where we weren't prepared for? And I'd be the first one to tell you, man, I jumped into this thing way too quick. I was just looking for something to do,
right.
And thinking this would be genius. And, the space we had, the rent was astronomical. And all these things that if we could have taken more time and maybe, spent more time researching, looking into it, and educating ourselves, might have been different. But at the end of the day, I don't regret it.
No.
I go, here we are, and I don't know if I'm here if we don't have those 3 years doing that, and I'll take where I'm at right now.
You can't take anything away from your experiences, right? They all kind of lead to somewhere else, and that's kind of where you're there.
I tell people all the time, man, when I talk to them, like, live a life of lessons. Like, just no matter what happens, good, bad, or indifferent, there's a lesson there, and if you live your life looking for those things, you'll never regret a thing you do.
Wise words. Yeah. No, that's the thing. Like I've always said, like I never want to have regrets.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather try something and fail miserably at it.
Oh, I fucked all kinds of stuff up.
Going the rest of my life being like, man, I wonder if I would have done that. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel about this powerlifting. I mean, like, I wonder if I really committed to it. I wonder if I really put the time in, like where we could have gone with it. But I mean, quite honestly, the powerlifting parts, I love it. Like,
oh yeah, it's never too late, right? I mean, your body and what you're capable of getting done at, well, certainly you go back 20, 30 years, you can argue that 40-year-olds didn't have the opportunities with the amount of information and the things that are available now to keep our bodies in tip-top condition. We talked about it, right? You could potentially still be in the NFL. I mean, they're guys now in their late 30s, and we know that, right?
Well, Brady's you look at it's the tackle for the Rams, Andrew Whitworth is 43 years old.
Yeah, I just saw that the other oldest guy. Besides Brady in the
playing offensive tackle.
There's a nose tackle that's like 40 or 41. I mean, that nose tackle, he's getting beat up every.
I think if I had someone like Ben 14 years ago, like I probably could have played another 4 or 5 years.
Sure, that's what I'm getting at.
But just the knowledge, like you said, and over the last decade has increased so much of how to train effectively and, prolong and longevity and injury prevention. There's so many different aspects of it where, I mean, it seems weird to say back when I was playing because, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. But it was like, we didn't know any of this. Like,
well, let's be real. The NFL has evolved a lot year over year. They do every single year at the end of the season. They go back and look at all these things. And, I mean, that's why we have concussion protocols now and things that didn't exist even 13 years ago. So saying back in your day isn't a large leap.
No, I mean I'd even look at just the equipment now.
Yeah.
My son brings his helmet home. I'm like, this looks like something that came off a spaceship. like, what is this?
Yeah, it's like,
I read somewhere that you were doing some assistant coaching?
I did.
Okay.
Yep. I coached for a couple of years. I'm at the South Lyon schools, and then 2 years at Novi High School, and loved the coaching. Loved working with the kids. But it's definitely not my high school or our high school as far as the way these kids are now. And I don't know what's changed. I don't know what's flipped. But it's just...
It doesn't feel like you belong the way you want to kind of connect is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just... There isn't like... I call it grit. There's no... things get tough and then they all want to complain. And I guess that's not all of them. And, there's still good kids in there.
Sure.
We had good teams and had a ton of fun with it. But it's like... There's just something that's changed a little bit. I look at my own 14-year-old and it's like trying to make... I mean, I hate doing it when I was coaching his youth football. I used to lay into him sometimes... just to lay into him, just to see how he'd react. You know what I mean? Just to start to build a little bit of that callus. And I'd feel horrible. I had to go tell my wife, like, I got on jack at practice and I feel horrible. But like that kid now, it's like, he's a coachable kid, you know, like you can get in his face and he'll look you in the eye, he'll nod his head and he'll go do what you're supposed to
He's
go
resilient.
do.
Yeah. He can bounce back.
And I think we need more of that with these kids. And it's like, we want to protect everyone as much as we can now. And it's like, I don't think we do them any favors.
Yeah.
You know, we need to toughen them up a little bit.
Yep. Uncoachable kids become uncoachable adults.
100%. So
that's a whole nother
important to
topic.
remember.
Yeah, we can talk about that. For a while.
yeah, I was gonna say that's like a 2-part show.
That's another thing.
Yeah, no kidding. So who's going to win the Super Bowl?
So I'm torn. So I have a friend whose son is a defensive end for the Bengals. Farmington Heights kid.
Okay.
Went to Notre Dame. Great kid, great family. So I'm rooting for him. But having played in Detroit and then left Detroit and seeing that sometimes the grass is greener on the other side, I'm rooting for Stafford.
Yeah, I am too.
I am. I like to see him get one. You know what I mean? And again, I look at that team, and I was never a crazy Stafford fan. I still don't think he's a top 5 or 6 quarterback in the league. I don't.
Yeah.
I look at that team he's got around him.
Me neither. He's got Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
But,
and they bought their defense,
Yeah,
and
sure.
you know, I mean, you got a bunch of studs. So
Listen, he's one of 32 for sure.
oh
He's
yeah,
a great quarterback.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
He's
he's
a
a
top
great
10 guy. Yeah.
I would say top 10.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, if I'm picking my top 5, I don't know if I pick him. But that doesn't take away what he's done this year.
For sure.
And
Give me your top 3. Who are they?
top 3. So I would have put Brady number 1, and I can't stand Tom Brady.
Me neither,
But you can't deny
lie.
the guy
Yeah.
wins, and
Yep.
he makes everyone better around him. And I think him leaving New England and going to Tampa Bay was the greatest thing that ever happened to Tom Brady because
It
all the
solidified his
naysayers
legacy.
and everyone's saying, no, he's a product of Belichick's system.
That's exactly it. Everyone
like,
said
maybe-
he was a system quarterback, and then he went to Tampa. Of course, he went to Tampa with Bruce Arians, another great quarterback coach.
Well, and Bruce Arians was the OC when I was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Great guy. But I also I'm like, man, maybe Belichick's more of a product of Tom Brady
for sure.
than anything else. So I would put him at number 1. Although I don't think Patrick Mahomes played very well on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on him a little bit.
I think he's got the ability,
Sure.
To be one of those elite quarterbacks. And I think there's some young guys out there. I look at Joe Burrow, and again, super flashy, no.
Love Joe Burrow.
But wins games.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a really good class of quarterbacks
Yeah.
right now. I think you got a guy like Ben Roethlisberger leaving the league, which opens something up now. You got Tom Brady leaving, so now we got positions open up.
Yeah. We're seeing that new generation come
Well,
up.
I think the quarterback position's changing a lot, right? In the NFL,
Well, you look at
it's
Mahomes,
changing.
you look at Kyler Murray,
Yeah.
and Lamar Jackson.
It's less about mechanics and more about grit and knowing how to play the game.
Yeah.
and making plays.
Yeah,
It
making
is.
plays.
It
The
is.
Favre style of play.
Yeah.
And exactly.
Win games. I mean, I don't think Aaron Rodgers you got to have in the conversation.
Oh, without a doubt.
But yeah, I mean, just there's so much talent now. It's crazy.
Yeah,
What
that's
crazy.
hey, listen, great time of year. Listen, college football and pro football, let's stop it right there. And I'll go to sleep for 8
Well, I was
months.
just gonna say now we enter the worst part of the year where
know it.
we have no football for
No.
the next 8 months.
No,
and
and
it's
I'm not a
like,
basketball guy.
Well,
Yeah.
no one's a basketball guy.
I watch 162 games a year of baseball.
Do you really?
Do you?
Yeah.
You're one of those guys.
Word.
Huge
Yeah.
baseball guy.
I don't like you
On
anymore.
TV.
Yeah.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. Baseball is a very cerebral game, and I love that about it. I don't give anything about what's going on the field. My wife, she's starting to learn a little bit, but I love the mental aspect of baseball.
Okay.
And
I'd rather watch reruns of The World's Strongest Man over and over.
And see,
over again.
I was a baseball kid growing up. I've always loved baseball. I coached baseball. I coached Little League baseball, travel ball. It's ingrained in me, man. I love baseball. My second cousin played professionally. We're a baseball family, so 162 games a year. I can't wait.
I like the pageantry of it, going to a game.
I was just
downtown
gonna
Detroit or
say,
something.
you want to go down to Comerica?
I love going to a live game, too.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy the hell out of that.
I'm with you all day
afternoon.
long, yeah.
But you put the game on TV, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I won't.
I
miss
got stuff to do.
I don't miss a single pitch.
you're not that guy with your own stat book, are you?
No. I do know how to keep score. I don't do it though.
So apparently, what you're telling me, without telling me, is I got to get the schedule right for our podcast here. When baseball season.
I don't
It
miss
sounds
a
like
game.
we're not getting
There's
shit done.
162
Yeah, I know,
days.
I
It's
know.
not going to work.
Right,
I
exactly.
don't miss a game. I'll put it on right here. We'll have a conversation. I'll be watching it.
Yeah.
So are you a Tigers fan?
No, I'm a Diamondbacks fan.
Oh, okay. All right. I forgot. The Arizona thing.
Yeah. I was born in California, born in San Jose, but I grew up in Arizona, so I consider that home. So once Arizona got a team in '98, I switched over. I used to be an A's fan
That's fair.
when I was little, but when they got a team in '98, I switched over since they had a team. So
It's all made
Plus,
for
they beat
you.
the Yankees in 01. How could you not love that?
Well, I was a Cleveland Indians fan, and this will age me, but I remember guys like Jim Thome and Albert Bell, Carlos Baerga. Like,
Dude, Tony played until
there
like
was
2 years ago.
Did he?
Dude, he DH'd for like
Really?
20 years. Yeah.
I picked the wrong sport.
Yeah. Well, plus they're better paid than the NFL too.
Yeah, and their contracts are guaranteed.
Yeah.
And but you got to play 162 games.
Yeah, it's a
versus
lot.
16.
You want to talk about you want to talk about
17
wear and
now.
tear. They don't. There's not a lot of longevity in baseball.
No.
There's a very few.
I look at those guys, and I think, a 17 game now or 16 game when I was playing, season's grueling in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I look at hockey and basketball, and I don't care how physical or not physical.
Right.
Like 82 games or 162 games, like that's a grind.
Yeah, that's
It's a grind.
10
That's a
days in a
grind.
row of running your ass
Insane.
off,
Yeah.
and like if you play the outfield or your pit, whatever, dude, and like.
Well,
that's
maybe
a
the
lot.
big difference is from grinding it out like that is in the mentality, like you said, when you're a pro football player and, a lot of guys come out of the league, 95% of them have to start a new career because it's not that opportunity. These other sports actually provide it in a different way, right? You grind it out for 7 or 8 years, you probably don't have to work.
Well, that's the thing. You sign and these baseball contracts are insane now, but it's like you sign a 7-year contract or a 10-year contract, like when you play those 7, 10 years, like you're going to get that contract.
Yeah.
Like the NFL, I signed a 3-year contract with the Steelers after the Super Bowl, have knee surgery next training camp, and that contract was.
Yeah, there's a clause in it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No,
I
that's
like that
contract if
debate.
you're healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about baseball is like you'll get that contract and you can never make it above high A ball.
Right.
Like there's people they
And
sign
that upfront money's
there's people
there
they
no matter
sign for
what.
$7 million a year for 6 years and they never make it past A ball and they get
It's
$7
insane.
million to play A ball in Visalia.
Yeah.
Like,
And ride in the school bus to the next game.
they don't give a shit.
Well, now you're in a whole sport that you don't have to worry about making any money. Sean,
That's
'cause-
true.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's what's great about it. Like,
Yeah.
like there's nothing. And I always I was talking to another
back
guy
to that high
last
school
night.
stuff,
Yeah,
though.
where it's like, man, like outside of like our circle, no one gives a shit, and I love that. You know what I mean? But like inside the circle, and as I've gotten more involved in the sport and done call it research, whatever you want. The social media following, looking at different people, like. It's got a pretty good reach now, but it still has, to me, that community feel where you start to recognize a lot of the same people. Even going to meets locally, you see a couple of the same people. And like even being at the meet, I went to Winter Warfare a couple weeks ago just to, watch squats before I had to get on the rest of my day. And like run into people, like, hey man, like you're that guy from October, right? Who tore his bicep, and like you start to recognize the same people, and you start cheering each other on. But it's got a cool community feel to it.
We've said it a couple times. I'll say it again. It's like this 6 circles of Kevin Bacon within the powerlifting community. And once you're out there, somebody that knows you, or vice versa. And because the community, as big as we think it is not really that big.
No.
There's thousands of people involved, of course, but from sea to shining sea. I mean, you'll eventually know everybody.
Right.
And you'll be a part of that conversation. Certainly when you're at an upper level, and I say that about you, you're in that top 10%, that, you all get to know each other pretty well because you know where your competition's going.
Yeah.
And eventually, as you heal up, no doubt you're going to be at some of these bigger showdown type opportunities.
Well, and that's another goal, and whenever that time comes, it's like, getting on a bigger stage.
Yeah.
But again, the cool thing with powerlifting is it's like, the weight's the weight.
It's still the same.
At the end of the
Still
day,
the
and
same.
you can have the guys who want to complain about
You
this
versus the
federation,
weight,
that
man.
federation,
That's it.
and how they call.
Yep.
And eventually, it all works itself out, in my opinion, for everybody. But like, and that's what I love about the sport too. Is like you can easily compare yourself, and like I see these guys where I'll be in there when some of the equipped guys are squatting. Or even bench pressing, and like I'm thinking, okay, so like Ben's got 900 pounds on the bar, he's bench pressing. Like I know what 800 feels like on my back. Like I can't imagine having that weight in my hands, and then seeing what I think is a big squat, and then some of these guys are squatting 100, 200, 300 pounds more. It's like a real number, you can see it. I mean, I can't watch a baseball game and really I know what it's like to hit it 102 mile an hour fastball.
Yeah.
But every gym bro in the world knows what 225
you're
feels like.
damn right we
and-
do.
Yeah,
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets
Like-
rid of that armchair quarterback, right? We can
Yeah.
all be quarterbacks because we don't know what it takes to be a quarterback, but
Yeah.
we do know what 225 pounds feels like.
That's
we know
right.
what 500 pounds feels like.
That's a great sort of viewpoint of that. It really is. That everybody can understand what that means. Why are you just going wraps? Have you ever thought about going, full gear? Or I know that's a big part of RPG.
Yeah,
I know
so
Ben
I
does
think
that.
that'll be my transition when I feel like my body starts to break down a little bit. And again, I don't know much about the equipped lifting, but from the little research I've done and just talking to other people, as far as hips and things like that, having the squat suit on kind of keeps everything a little better.
Yeah.
So I think that might be a natural transition,
Okay.
Depending on how my body goes. But I also like the classic raw. Now, most people don't understand what it's like to, your average guy at the gym to squat with knee wraps on. But outside of that, it's a very easy, like we were just talking, to understand what deadlifting 800 pounds is like, or bench pressing 2 1/4, and just kind of seeing what it is, where, the equipped lifting, it's hard for the average person to understand.
It is.
And then I look at all the technique work and I'm like, man, I'm still trying to figure out how to squat raw.
Right.
And then I just see all these little tweaks, because, I'll be there when the guys are lifting equipped and seeing all their tweaks and their cues and everything. I mean, to me, it'd be like learning
a whole nother
almost
language.
a new sport.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But it's certainly something that I look at down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be awesome to put 1,000 pounds on your back.
Right.
Well, that's really
I don't care
lovely,
what
right?
you're wearing.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about.
Well, I think the common misperception is when people see geared lifting, which, of course, as anybody sitting here, we don't agree with this, but they think, oh, I just put on a shirt and I'm going to bench 800 pounds.
No.
It don't work like that.
Well, here's
Matter of
the
fact,
thing.
you may never learn how to use that
Right.
equipment properly.
100%.
Anybody that can squat 1,000 pounds in a squat suit can squat 850
That's right.
raw.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
still a big motherfucking squat.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm the same way though. Like, that's the reason I compete raw. Like, in, again, technique and all that stuff aside, is that, like, I have this mentality that, like, if I'm out in the wild and I need to pick up a log, I'm not putting on a deadlift suit. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I want to get to the peak ability naturally,
Yes.
or whatever, as physically without a suit and a system.
But I think you both bring up a good point, where it's like, I do think a lot of these people, and again, it's your gym bros who want to make an excuse why
they don't squat 1,000 pounds.
Right. It's like, sweet, you had a leg press PR, that no one cares about. But
I
it's like,
press PR. I love
Shut
that.
up! I just posted one.
You did too. I know you did. You did. Thanks
No,
for
you
breaking
don't-
this ball
you don't
shot.
It wasn't a PR.
was it a leg press with a stack on it? You know what I mean? The bin, like,
Yeah.
full stack on the
Right.
leg
Oh, that
press.
would even be better. Yeah.
No.
But I like these equipped guys, like just seeing the technique and the work that goes into it, is so impressive. And like, the more I'm around it, the more I'm kind of in awe by it, and just these little tweaks they have to make in their shirts. And
Well, yeah, perfect example is Ben posts about it all the time. Like, Ben's a massive dude, right? He bench presses 800-900 pounds, and he'd be like, finally figuring out how to use this shirt.
yeah,
Finally figured
Finally.
it out. Right.
He's like, it's just, it's not, it's a whole different language. It's Greek. It's Greek to powerlifting, It's a whole different thing you got to
well,
learn.
just changing shirts and then going from this shirt to that.
that's
shirt,
what happened.
different brands, and
I should have did my research a little better on this note I saw the other day of that guy that's 62 years old broke the bench press record
Yeah.
the other day, like 1,200 pounds.
12 something, I think.
62 fucking years old.
It's insane.
That's insane.
He's got a really good shirt builder. No,
well,
I'm just
well,
kidding.
yeah, right. Well, that's what people would say, right?
Exactly,
Oh,
yeah.
look, he's got some superpower shirt.
I
he's
don't give
wearing.
a shit.
Oh,
Put
that's
1,200 pounds
crazy.
in your hand and see what
At
it feels
62.
like. I don't
Yeah.
care if you have a shirt on
No,
or
no.
not.
The more impressive number there is 62,
Yeah.
not the 1,200 to me.
Well, I think that's what I think is so cool, and why I think down the road it's something I wouldn't rule out of going to the equipped, is just like having that new challenge.
Sure, that's what it is.
Of trying to figure it out. And like, into your point where you said, Ben's still trying to figure it out. I'm like, okay, well, if this guy's truly an elite powerlifter, I mean, I look at the WPO rankings and I see like Dave Hoff #1, and I'm like, man, I watched this guy on West Side versus the World or whatever it is, and I see Ben like number 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I'm like, if he's still figuring the shit out, and I'm like, I'm 2 years into it, like, okay, like, I got a lot to learn still.
Right.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
there's patience involved. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Sean. Why don't more, particularly professional football players, because they're already sort of just built in for this type of thing, right? Heavy lifting, strongman. I mean, they're athletic by nature. They're strong. Their core is strong. I mean, all the intangibles are there. But you don't see a lot of these guys come out of the league or come out of college football and participate in these lifting. Why is that, I wonder? Do you ever
Because it's
thought about
hard.
that? Because is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that's the reason. I think, like, to be, again, in my opinion, for me, to be an elite level power lifter, which I'm not there yet, is hard. And I think one of the things when you compete for so long, especially in a physical sport like football, and when I say hard, I don't mean these guys are afraid of a hard day's work, but like the pushing your body and having nutrition dialed in and doing all these little things now that you've already been doing or you had to do. I think some of these guys, it's kind of like how I was when I got done playing. I'm like, I just want a break from this.
Right.
And I think the longer you have a break,
Gotcha.
the harder it is to get back into it. So I think that's a big reason. I mean, these guys take up golf. You know, that's how they want to compete.
So it's more like the transitioning part that takes place. It removes them from the idea that they want to be at a high level of competition.
Right, like I used to hate 6 a.m. workouts, you know, in college. I'm like, I'll never do this.
Now you're back
now
at
I'm
it.
like, well, I'm going off at 4 a.m. and I'm like, let's go, like, you know, squat day. Like
that makes sense. Like, I guess I never thought about it like that. Like, why would you want to go do something you just spent literally your entire life doing?
Right.
Like, it's not lifting weight, but dieting, getting up for workouts, 2 a days. Like, you're like, okay, I'm finally done with that. Guess what I'm not doing? Doing that again.
Right. Well, but there's a competitive nature to it. There's an inherent competitive nature to it. Guys like Sean have that. It's inherent to who they are.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's almost like,
though.
how could they not?
I understand
do
it though.
something super competitive besides golf.
But I think a lot of them still do it. And for some guys, maybe it's business, maybe it's going into coaching.
Yeah.
I think they find other ways to kind of compete and then, you know, whatever that hunger
that makes
is
sense.
to feed it. But like I look at powerlifting, the reason, you know, I love doing it is because it is hard. And there aren't many people that can do it. And that's why I think there is so much mutual respect in the community. Because like if you build up to an 800-pound squat or an 800-pound deadlift or whatever it is, like I don't care who you are. I don't care how good your genetics are. I don't care what drugs you're on. I mean, I don't care about anything. Like you put a lot of hard-ass work into that to get to that point. And that's what I love about it. Like people ask, well, who cares you can deadlift 800 pounds? Like I care because so can you, but you won't do it because you're not tough enough or you don't have the mental capacity. You don't have the discipline. Like anyone can do what we do, but physically they could. Right. But if you don't have it upstairs and you're not willing to put in the time.
Let's not talk about me and you. That doesn't equate.
I totally get it because it was a similar thing when I got out of the military. I refused to ever exercise again until I got to 265 pounds and almost died. Because I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to run.
I guess there's correlation. I could see that. When I got
look at being a kid and in school and be like, man, I'll never be a teacher and have to wake up and be, okay, like then you realize everybody wakes up.
And I even got to go to school earlier. Well, that's something. Well, hey, Sean, I appreciate you coming on the Gym Life podcast, man. Perfect timing, really. And this is a conversation we've wanted to have for a long time. Not only are you a great guy and a great character and you represent the sport well, you're a great athlete. I already know that you're going to be that elite powerlifter.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we have a crystal ball here, and we've already made the prediction.
Good.
Yeah. So once that bicep heals up, which I know we'll be back in better, and we'll see in about a year on some higher level stages.
I can't wait.
And we'll be right behind you. So hopefully we'll have you back on then.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, of course we know where to find you, and you know where to find us.
Yeah.
So thanks.
I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Everybody for watching Gym Life podcast. Stay strong.